This information you are about to hear and perhaps view, these are not necessarily the thoughts or the ideas of Gary C.Clement or the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast. We are in no way, shape, or form affiliated with the parties this story is about or was interviewed for. Parts of this content may not be owned by or the property of the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, G2 Network Media, or any other company we are affiliated with, and this information is strictly the opinion of those being interviewed. This content is for information purposes only, and although we may make reference to various news stories, we share our own independent beliefs about the content and provide our own opinions. Please enjoy the information. Haard News, hosted by Gary C.Clement. Today's news is made up of so many different issues, it's hard to keep up. But we all know it's important to keep law enforcement in the community and society, as many in America have a problem doing the right thing. Growing up, my mother always said it's easy to do right, but so many people choose wrong, and once you get in trouble, it's very hard to get out of it. Haard News will tackle all issues that break the barriers of justice for all, freedom for all, and simply a good and strong meaning of democracy for all. The show covers politics, crime, gun violence in our communities, and will introduce guests who have a personal stake in these issues. So without further ado, please enjoy this week of Haard News, hosted by Gary C. Clement. Hi, my name is Gary C. Clement, and welcome to Haard News. Today on the show, we are blessed to have a former classmate as a guest. Her name is Miss Tina Wyatt Younger. She's officially running for the South Boston, Virginia City Council. And how are you today?
I'm doing great, Gary, and thank you so much for inviting me on.
Okay, great. So for those who do not know you, talk a little bit about yourself and tell us who you are.
Okay. Well, my name is Tina Younger. Most people, I usually say Tina Wyatt Younger because most of my classmates remember me as Wyatt. So I am a wife and a mother. I live here in the town of South Boston, which is in Halifax County. I relocated back here in about 2009. Once I had my son, we moved back here from up north. So I lived in New York, and my now husband lived in Jersey. But we're both basically from here in South Boston. We both grew up here. So I came back here, and later on, I'll tell you, like, one of the things that got me back into doing what I'm getting ready to run for again is because when I did come back, I noticed, after years, things didn't seem they didn't change. They didn't look like they changed. They looked like they stayed the same. So I just got interested in government. I did attend Liberty University. I have a degree from the Helm School of Government. Don't hold that against me, but hey, it is what it is. So, and then I just noticed that in our local government, that we needed to do more in the community. So I started snooping around, asking questions, and realized that they were not getting answered. So, and then I started putting my hand to the plow, and I started going to the meetings, and that's how I ended up at this point.
I see. Okay. Now, I, basically, like I said, grew up in Halifax County, which is, right around South Boston and whatnot as well. And in my honest opinion, I don't see where South Boston has grown that much over the years. Talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about, some of the things that you feel like they need in that area, some progress they're making. Sell us on this point of being part of the city council.
Okay, so like I said before, when I came back in 2009, Gary, it did seem, like everything was in a standstill, like time had stood still. There was no internet was, no broadband. I also served on the planning commission for the not the local level, but for this it's like Southside Planning Commission. And we were talking about broadband from 2012, and it just still seemed like, the more we talk about issues and the more we talk about changing here, the more things just never change. Now, it has gotten smaller, of course. Of course, there are several factors into the reason why it has got smaller here as far as the citizens and the residency, but we'll go into that in a little bit. I what I want to see happen in the town is to move forward. So many times we want to stay in the same place because it's comfortable. We don't want to ruffle feathers, or, I would like to see where our town is engaging toward the younger population, the young adults, even honestly, some middle and older adults, where I see where we want to do some more healthier things. There's a lot of bike riders, there are a lot of skateboarders, and those things, even though they're simple, they do bring excitement to people because they're advocate bike riders and skateboarders and people who like recreation, and I think that needs to be updated in our town. We're not quite a city anymore. We've been changed to a town, so that was a little change. And the only effect that really has is that you get more funding from the government when you are considered a town. So that does help when it comes to projects around here. But what I look forward to is just bringing some new ideas here, even if it's the simplest thing like a bike lane. That just seems to, ruffle some people's feathers because they don't want to lose some of their yard. And then it brings excitement to the younger people because they can find different modes of transportation.
Okay, cool. Something that actually just occurred to me that I've been thinking about too is
Hmm.
a lot of our, how could you say it, former classmates or whatnot. Basically, some people have become very successful and made a lot of money and done some things or whatnot. But how many of those people actually bring that back to South Boston?
Gary, unfortunately, very few. At this point, now there are things that we see, and then there are things that we never see. Like we might see projects going up, honoring those athletes who were here, or honoring, some educators. But then I also found out that some people are like our classmates who go on to do greater and bigger things. They actually contribute financially to the town and to the county. So you may not see them front and center, but behind the scenes, they constantly donate and have scholarships. I can name a couple like Jim. Well, we used to call him Jimbo Coleman. So he has scholarships. I know some police officers, they have scholarships in honor of their family members. So even though we don't see the physical, there are people who work behind the scenes. I know I would love to see more classmates come back to this area, but we have to be realistic. I'm 55, and the chances of them moving back here, they're slim. But what we have to do is get the younger adults to retain interest in the town and not leave.
I see. Okay. And you mentioned, like you said, the young people or whatnot. Currently,
Hmm.
what's there to keep, the young people,
I know.
excited about living in South Boston, excited about trying to be a part of the community. What are you all, what's out there? What are you doing?
Well, I'm going to say it like this. When we were growing up, Gary, just the little things were exciting to us. But we have to be realistic in this day and age. Most of our young adults, teenagers, young adults, they gear towards more technology. So where we had recreational fun and excitement, I think what attracts them more is having the opportunity to be entrepreneurs, work from home, be a part of the technology community here. We have Microsoft here. Then the community college and the higher ed center, they are putting more efforts on trades versus going to 4-year colleges. That way, a person who gets a trade here may be more likely to stay here and use that trade. One of the things I will want to do, Gary, is to make sure we partner with those companies like Hitachi and other technology companies, construction companies, Microsoft, to have like a mentoring program. And instead of waiting until people graduate from college and or move off to go to college and then realize it's a whole big world out there in South Boston, Halifax is very little in that world, get them while they're in 11th and 12th grade. Because what I find is that not everybody is cut out for 4-year college. So my focus is what do we do with those people who want to contribute to society but have been told that only a 4-year degree does that. So my thing is you get them while they're in high school, you show them options, you show them where they can have their own businesses like bricklaying, construction, any technology, teach them the trades. And I think that that is coming back now. And community college is also another option where you don't go into debt. So those are the things that I would push: trades and community colleges, and that'll make sure they stay in the area, and then they can take what they learned and their skill and help compete for some of these projects that we have here in South Boston.
I see. Okay. And speaking of jobs in the area, our parents, when they were growing up, basically and also as they got older, the jobs that they had were manufacturing jobs at the different plants and, maybe the school system or maybe
Mm,
working at the hospital. What
hmm
kind of new stuff are you all working on? What kind of new jobs and stuff are you trying to basically bring there?
Well, normally we work with the IDA, so it's the Industrial Development Authority. So we normally work with them. We have one for the town of South Boston, then we have the IDA for the county. So from what I understand, because I have not been on council for about 4 years, from what I understand, most of the jobs that we're geared towards now is, um, even though they're in plants, they are technology based jobs. Now we do still have the general like Dollar General plants. We still have those basic plants, but now I see Hitachi. We partner with Hitachi all through the county. Are partnering with Microsoft, like I said, at the Sovo Innovation Center. So I think moving forward, we're geared towards bringing more of those type plants to Halifax in the South Boston area versus like the manufacturing plants. I believe that the town and the county they're really geared towards those type of companies. And like you said, I remember growing up, it was more industrial manufacturing plants, and unfortunately, a lot of that got taken away when during the years when things were moved overseas. And we lost a lot in this county and a lot in this town because our parents and their parents really worked hard at these plants to build a future for us. But now we just got to take the torch and do it another way for this generation.
I see. Okay. Well, one major thing that's actually coming to the area is the casino and stuff in Danville, which is 30
Oh,
miles away. How is that,
yeah.
how is that a part of the growth plan for South Boston?
Well, we are opening up the Randolph Hotel downtown. So I know that's been in the works for a couple of years. My goal is to get back on council and to dig in and to see where we are with that project. Now, the casino will bring more people through our community as far as lodging and actually going to the smaller restaurants for dinner, which will add to the food tax, bring food revenue in and lodging revenue. So I believe that the casino is positive based on it bringing jobs to the communities, both Danville and South Boston. And being that we're only about 45 minutes away, and most people travel through here to get to Danville, it will be a positive. It's a positive move. Now, here in the town of South Boston, down if you're familiar with the town, on the lower end of town, there is a project to do a roundabout. Now, I don't know how that's going to work, Gary,
Hmm.
but if you remember growing up, North Main used to be two-way.
Hmm.
So now, from what I understand, they are bringing the two-way back. And one of the reasons why I can imagine they're bringing it back is because if you're traveling to Danville, you need to stay in one of the hotels. The Randolph Hotel is right there, but if you have to go all the way around to get back to it, the chances are you'll just pass by it. But if you have a throughway and then you change the streets to two lanes again, two-way street again. They'll take you directly to the hotel. So to me, the plan was to make sure that those people traveling notice the hotel. So in the hotel, if the plan has not changed, will be like boutique stores, and on the rooftop, the plan was to have a really nice restaurant. And also it'll bring the traffic to the restaurants that are currently there, new and old, that we've opened. There's a Cuban cuisine. There's another cafe downtown. There's coffee shops, soul food restaurants now. So we want to make sure everybody can get a piece of the pie, and sort of to say so. That's why I think they're creating the roundabout and making it a two-way street. So overall, I think the casino is great. Now, morally, that's another issue, but they ain't got nothing to do with that.
Mhm.
I'm looking at the revenue part and the job creation for the citizens of both Danville, Pennsylvania County, and South Boston, Halifax.
I see. Okay. And I kind of hate to go into this next, how could you say it, idea of rebuilding, South Boston, but back
Yeah.
in the 50s and 60s, there was a huge racial divide there. Would you say
Yes.
that over the years that you all have been able to kind of clean some of that up? Because downtown now in South Boston, you run into quite a few Afro Americans that own shops and stuff downtown. Talk a little bit about that
Yes.
for us.
Well, one of the projects that I want to bring to the town is to really focus on minority businesses. I remember a couple years ago, there was an initiative to open up as many businesses downtown. We had the COVID relief fund. We actually opened up and helped some of the businesses remain open because the government gave, of course, grants. My focus now is to make sure we're reaching out to every community. We do have a Mexican supermarket or restaurants. We have African American soul food restaurants. We have all types of cuisine and businesses. My goal is to make sure it stays like that. Make sure that the minorities are included, even when it comes to bidding for contracts. Um, I think I'm a little disappointed when it comes to not having enough African Americans or minorities, women, of any other race, come bid on major projects here. So that's my goal, to just really dig in and to find out how can we reach the minority group? How can we reach those new women who have construction companies, technology companies? How can we reach them versus using the same people for all our projects in Halifax and South Boston? So uh, I always say, unfortunately, Gary, we self-segregate ourselves. And if you understand what I'm saying, it's when we go anywhere, it seems like we're just comfortable sitting amongst each other, our own people who we know, who we're familiar with. So one of my hopes is that we get out in the community more and we learn to not self-segregate, that, everybody matters here, and all races matter. And I want to make sure that they are represented equally and they get the same resources across the board.
Mhm. I see. Okay, very good, very good, cool. So as far as crime has always been a major factor too in small towns.
Yeah.
How would you say that the South Boston police are handling the different issues of crime there?
Um, well, as far as crime, I haven't really been involved in too much that's going on the crime rate. I haven't heard I know every year the police chief gives a report on what's going on in the community. Now, of course, I've seen over the last 2, 3 years, it seems like, there's more shootings, unfortunately. There, amongst our young African American men. I'm not sure about any other kind of crimes like B&Es or any of those things, but overall, I feel that our community is pretty safe. Um, I don't see where there's there is anything that's outrageous. I'm pretty sure, like with every local department, there are things that can be a whole lot better. But because I don't know specifically the statistics on how crime has risen or declined, I can't really comment on that without accurate information. But I do know just from word of mouth, just from looking around the community, social media, reading some articles that, I want to focus on our young people, taking life a little more seriously. Once you do something to somebody, unfortunately, sometimes death is the outcome and you can't change that. So, in order to do that, Gary, you got to start creating a positive community. And it's my hope that police officers and our local law enforcement, spend time in the communities, bringing communities together, having programs and initiatives that'll go reach all communities, all people in the community, and not just every time we see our brothers and sisters, it's in a bad light. I want to make sure that law enforcement, whether it's our local town police officers, sometimes sheriff departments, just make sure they go in the communities and do something great with them versus, always having to show up when it's a crime that's been committed. Sometimes just showing up prevents the crime. So that's my goal. That's one of the things I want to work closely with the mayor and the chief of police, which I'm, happy to say this man has been on the job for decades, and now he is our chief of police. That he understands and that the community understands what we need as a small community, because it only takes one or two incidents to, impact the community. And we want to make sure we start with some positive things versus always hearing the negative.
I see. Okay, and we didn't
Yeah.
we didn't speak of the other members of the city council there.
Hmm.
Can you name them all for us, or if you don't,
I think so. I'm not sure. So we have, of course, Mayor Owens, Edward Owens, and then we have Sharon Harris. We do have what's Tommy Elliott, and we do also have. Hold on, I want to see if I get them all right. And we have Miss Beast. And then the last one that I always forget his name, and I don't know, it is what it is. Joe Chandler, and then our vice mayor, who is Bob Hughes.
I see. Okay, very good, very good.
I
Okay.
got him. Oh, wait. I did forget one. I
Hmm.
did forget one. Uh, Brian Burton. I forgot about Mr. Burton. Yes.
I see. Okay. And I guess, just the overall project and stuff that you would like to see happen before the end of the year.
Um, well, some projects. Okay, one that's near and dear to my heart is the Sinai West Side um, initiative that was supposed to have been done, I'll say 2 years, 3 years ago. That is an initiative where they were going to take the some land behind West Side Village. They had already took the trees down. They had cleared the land. There was supposed to be a park there for the community. And Gary, I really don't know what happened because now the trees are growing back up. The park is not there, and it seems like there are no answers right now. I don't hear too many people talking about it. So that's one of the. I won't be on council at the end of the month because we start November is the election. You get sworn in, I believe, January or in some part of December now, where it changed a little bit. We used to get elected in May, and then we could start in the new in June. But I want to see that project completed or a reason why it has not been completed. And then I also want to look at that structure of how they have the biking, how that whole biking lane is in Halifax. So I don't particularly think it's safe, and it's an eyesore. And I think we could have done better by the citizens of Sinai. So those are my two projects that I want answers to by the end of the year, whether I'm on council or not. I still want to see what happened to the funding and then what we can do to get the residents their park that they were looking forward to in 2020.
I see. Okay. And
Mhm.
finally, for young people that are interested in joining the city council or getting
Mm-hmm.
involved with other parts of, local government as well as going higher.
Right.
What's your advice to them?
Well, my advice is to get involved as early as you can. Most people do it in their junior and senior year. Attend meetings as projects, maybe with within their group and their peers. Attend the town meetings. Attend the board of supervisor meetings. Attend the school board meetings because they're all different entities of local government. That way, when you understand how local government affects you, then you can move on to the state because the state and the federal and the local all have different functions. So a lot of people go straight to the, national and they think about president and Congress. However, the one that affects you most is your local because we see these people every day. They create our ordinances, our laws. They are the ones who uh, go to the state for funding for our school boards, and the supervisors take care of the entire county with projects and getting money into the county. So when you understand the local level, then you move to the state to realize you're the one that can allocate the money to your local level. But if you serve on the local level first, and then you move up to the state level, you'll see how important it is for you to get that money to your community. And that's what I did. I actually ran for state senate in January of this year. Unfortunately, I fell short, but it was a 20-some day sprint. So that's what happened with that. But at least I know I met some really great senators during that time who endorsed me. And so I know how important it is to have a great senator in place as well so that they can get the resources to Halifax County. Because, Gary, growing up here, rural counties, we're the last on the totem pole.
Mm-hmm.
Most likely Northern Virginia gets more resources, but when you're in rural Halifax areas, areas like Halifax and
Mm-hmm.
our areas, you get the last of the crumbs. If you don't speak up, if you don't speak out, and basically if you don't request and use the funds, those funds go right back to the state.
Right.
So it's important for us to research and say, this is what we need, but put somebody who's adequate in those positions to help bring what you need to the county, because we elect people, we elect these officials. They're supposed to represent everybody in their county or in their town. So we got to make sure we're actually voting for the right people, not just people who just want to be on seats and have their name and be in the loop and be in the know. Our job is to get these resources to our town, because when we don't have maternal wards, and now we're building a whole new hospital with no maternity ward, tell me that does not affect young professionals that want to come here of childbearing years.
That's true. Right.
Because how can you expect a young physician or a young entrepreneur to come here with their wife or their fiance or whomever, and she gets pregnant and have to go an hour and a half away? That actually makes no sense whatsoever. And when we did meet with the hospital, I attended a town council meeting, and one of the things they said was because our birth rate was dropping here in Halifax, and it would cost too much money to have a maternity ward. Well, it's a catch-22. It's going to drop when you have nothing to bring a young professional here. We are not in childbearing years anymore. Okay, so how are we going to attract the younger generation? We can't do it with messed up schools, so that's why you need a new school. We can't do it without high broad-based internet and high-speed internet. You got to have really good internet, and you need some entertainment for young people instead of sending your resources out of town because there's nothing here. So I'm excited, Gary, about doing what I can do on the local level. That's what God has me right now, on the local level. And that's why I'm going back in. Even when people ask me, why in the world would you go back in? I need to go back in because I still have a 15-year-old son here. And I want to make sure I do right by him and other children and other families and their children. So that's why I'm going back into the field again and running.
I see. Okay. And last but not least, the importance of voting
Yes,
this coming election.
Gary, Gary, I cannot stress how important it is for us to get out to vote. We need to get out to vote because even though we always say every election is important and voting is your voice, this election will send us back decades if we don't get out and pull our people to the polls. It's really important. It's really important that we listen to what's happening all around us, that we're not blinded by lies or misinformation, that we have the right information in front of us to see how it affects us as a community, us as a people, and just history in general. We don't, as our vice president said, we're not going back. We fought too hard. Too many people have died. So many people have sacrificed. There's no way we can give this back to hate and division again. So it's important that you check your voter registration. Even if you voted last election, we found some people have been taken off the roll. Unfortunately, our governor removed like 6,000 people off the roll. So now you have to go in and to check to make sure you're still active, because we found some people were inactive when they just voted in the last election. So please check your go to vote.org. You can take 30 seconds to see if you're active. Make sure your information is correct. In the state of Virginia, you just need your ID. Make sure you have your ID with you. If the address, try to make sure it's the same address. If you don't have the same address as is on your license, take a bill with you, because we want to make sure when you get there, you're prepared. We have people, set up all over to make sure we answer any questions. And so it's important that our children have more rights and freedoms than we do, and not take them back to where they have less than we do.
It's been wonderful to have Ms. Tina Wyatt Younger as our special guest this evening. In closing, voting is our power. Without a vote, you can talk, but it means nothing if you don't apply action. You can speak, but you can't argue with the outcome if you don't vote. Vote Tina Wyatt Younger for South Boston, Virginia City Council. We really do appreciate our guests who participated in this episode, and we hope you learned something that will bless your day and your life. For all who are interested in learning more about the Gary Clement Radio Show podcast, please visit www.amazon.com and order my book, The Gary Clement Radio Show, When Strong Afro-American Men and Women Stand Up. It covers everything about us and features a variety of Afro-American personalities who speak out about the importance of education and literacy in the Black community. Well, we thank you for tuning into our podcast. Please send us your email address so we can contact you when we have new releases and new episodes and new projects as well. You can reach us at gccpresents@yahoo.com. And also, if you're interested in submitting any materials or want to get in touch with us, please do so by simply sending an email to gccpresents@yahoo.com. That's G as in Gary, C as in Charlie, C as in Charlie, presents@yahoo.com. So until next time, do take care. And this is a G2 Network Media production.